Yo, what's up guys, this is Astranox, Golem 13 time. This is the team I'm gonna be using. Let's go in there and I'll talk about battle mechanics and I'll talk about team compositions, heroes that you could be bringing in here to replace some of these heroes if you don't have them. This is of course not a free-to-play friendly team, but I'll cover, I'll talk about the free-to-play friendly team near the end of the video. After fighting the boss maybe 2 or 3 times, I will be showing my gear, my stats. So first thing is, this boss is harder of course. You've got now decreased hit chance being applied by the tower. You cannot heal during the golem's attack, so Rowana, Touch of Ricos, mechanics like that, like let's say Champion Zerato, he counter attacks and he cannot heal himself. So things like that. If you have counter built into your hero, you have counter set, you have like Elbrus Ritual Sword, and you have some like leech mechanic or something, you cannot heal back during the boss's turn. So that's a problem. But yeah, decreased hit chance, decreased defense. You want cleansing. You want cleansing on your team. That's why I have Achates in here. The boss can get attack buff. You want to remove that. Tambourine can do it in Idol's form with skill 1. Unhealable, Cermia, she's got it. So the tree guy, he heals and then cleanses. So he, like here, so the healing didn't happen, the cleansing did of course, but we saved a lot. Like the boss was not able to get his health back, so it's gonna speed up the run. And you want to speed up the run because the longer the battle drags on, the more attack the boss will have, and then the more dangerous he will become. You want to bring fire heroes in here because other elements that are not fire, they take 30% more damage. This is the same thing as Golem 11 and 12. The new thing here is that, of course, ice elemental heroes get stunned for 1 turn. That's how it was before. When the caster attacks with Statue's Rage, all enemies cannot receive healing until the end of the turn. Actually, this is not during counter attack. This is not during normal attack. Oh my god, this is during counter attack. What just happened here? She just murdered him. Statue's Rage attacks all enemies, stunning one random enemy. Stunning one random enemy for 1 turn. And increasing combat readiness of all allies except for the caster by 20%. So the tower and the that crystal and the tree guy will be getting combat readiness, meaning the cleansing and healing will happen more often. The debuffing of decreased hit chance and attack break, defense break will happen more often from the crystal. So you gotta be mindful of that. What else do we have here? After attacking causes an earth shock, an aftershock, sorry, and inflicts additional damage. Counter attacks with Statue's Rage when the skill is available. Decreases the caster's skill cooldown by 1 turn when attacked. So you attack him 5 times, this thing is available, and then he uses it, right? This is how the heroes did perform in here. So I'll be talking, like I said, about other heroes that you can bring in here. But you definitely want to bring a hero that can break the attack of the boss. Attack break is a very powerful debuff, cuts the attack in half, 50% attack reduction. We got Fire Ken that can do it, and we have Achates. Very, very powerful. Since we have it on 2 heroes, it's more reliable. Ken, it's on skill 3, not something that is like... skill 1 is way more reliable because, well, it does happen more often, and it can happen on a dual attack as well. Tambourine, of course, she's just like amazing. I have Shimaja Staff on Achates, and I have Prophetic Candlestick 3-star artifact on Tambourine to hopefully lower the cooldown of her skills, especially skill 3, right? Because when she goes in there, gives attack buff. Doesn't matter too much because Cermia, she already have greater attack buff with skill 2. But the dual attacks, they are very welcome, plus the dispelling that definitely helps taking the attack buff from the boss away. So just great stuff overall. In this team, the squishiest hero is Cermia, followed by Tambourine, and then it's it might be Fire Ken, and then finally Achates, something of the sort, or they might be kind of tied there. So you want to hit like you want Cermia to get as much like health, defense, memory imprint as possible. If you have a bunch of those on Achates, it's not that hard to obtain actually. So the great thing is that Tambourine goes in Idol's form. It's the same as when I was doing Golem 11, and that makes for some amazing burst damage potential, especially with Cermia that can, with her exclusive equipment, trigger skill 1 back to back. That 25% chance of triggering, and even happens on dual attack, and like that's why the Golem got murdered on the first attempt, right? The thing is, this shockwave, that's the attack that the boss uses, attacks all enemies, decreasing defense for 2 turns. After attacking, causes an aftershock and inflicts additional damage. So he defense break the whole team potentially, unless there's some resist, and then he does the aftershock, which is the thing that deals the most damage, right? And it gets more damage too because you have defense break on you. Damage dealt increases with fewer enemies. So if you're gonna be running this in a 3-man setup, right? 2-man, this thing is gonna be dealing more and more damage. Keep that in mind. So you need 65% effectiveness for the Hunt 13 bosses because they have 80% effect resistance. With 65% effectiveness, you will counter that. There's 15% that cannot be countered. That's the innate resist that everyone has in the game. It's unfortunate. So yeah. Now you see the damage was pretty ridiculous there. Like Cermia got really low, but thankfully we got Achates coming in with the team-wide cleanse plus the healing that scales based on her max health. The healing on Tamarine is the same. It scales based on her max health. Very, very powerful stuff. Here in terms of immunity, nothing to worry about. It's the usual for a boss, but not as bad as Wyvern. So the boss is about to die here. But yeah, I'll be talking about other heroes you can bring in here because of course you might not have all these heroes. Achates, she's definitely a very solid hero to bring in here. I would say Tamarine could be replaced with Mascot Hazel. She will provide the unhealable, a decent amount of healing. You're gonna have the greater attack buff on fire heroes with her. With Achates, you might need even more speed on your Achates, let's say, or you might even want to roll with a prophetic candlestick on her so you can potentially lower the cooldown of her skill 3 so she can cleanse more often, which is going to be a huge thing in this battle because those debuffs are definitely very, very annoying. You have 50% chance of missing when you have decreased hit chance on you, and that's really unfortunate when it does happen. So here, Cermia, actually, Fire Can did quite well. It's probably because Cermia didn't actually, trigger skill 1 too much. But you can see the healing here of Achates versus Tamarine was like pretty close to each other. But there is Shimaja staff on Achates. That's the thing. Actually, wait, Tamarine had more healing? I think Tamarine had more healing on that one. But she went in Idol's Idol form twice, I believe. Yeah. So let's look at the gear real quick. We got my boy Fire Can here. Skill ups, well, look, he can have way more damage, like 25% here, 15 here, and 20 here. So that's definitely a ton. And the decreased defense here is great with the decreased attack here. When he has Vigor, he gets, yeah, there it is. Attack and defense increased by 30%. This thing will stack with attack buff as well. It cannot be dispelled. And when he has Vigor, he actually ignores effect resistance when it comes down to landing defense break with skill 2, which is very, very strong. I mean, it's pretty crazy. Like he's got a very reliable defense break in his kit, skill 1 and skill 2, plus the ignore effect resistance when he has Vigor. That's really powerful. Increased speed as well, that's great. So mine is slow. Effectiveness can go up to 65% to land debuffs more reliably, right? In terms of health, it's okay. Defense as well. Speed could be higher. The attack, you can increase that even to increase his damage further because his damage scales based on his max health and his attack as well. But mostly based on his max health, and I would say health is better because it not only increases damage but also his survival, of course. Daydream Joker, increase your critical hit damage as much as possible so you can deal more damage with Daydream Joker because it deals damage based on the target's max health. And Defense Break also increases that amount as well. The critical hit chance on him is only 73%. That's what I was able to manage with this gear. But when I'm gonna be upgrading, reforging these pieces, then I will be getting some more crit chance. So it's gonna be perfect because you have 85% crit chance when you are using when you are at elemental advantage. So in this case, fire versus earth, right? So my Cermia, pretty crazy amount of attack, over 5,000. Speed is low, but I mean, I use her with auxiliary lots and green lots as well for some pretty insane like one-shots with her other exclusive equipment that resets this thing every time you kill someone. So her stats, the critical hit damage, I mean, yeah, between the attack and critical hit damage, it's a ton. The thing is, I would increase the critical hit damage more than the attack when it comes down to PVE, when you are relying on Daydream Joker, because critical hit damage will increase this damage even further, but not attack. So keep that in mind. So that is her gear and her exclusive equipment that uses skill 1 again and again. 25% chance when she does use skill 1. It can happen on a dual attack. It's very, very powerful. Maybe even a counter attack if if you have that. Maybe the counter buff or some hero applies counter to the team in the future or something like that. So she's on attack and crit. Now, next one is we have Achates and Tambourine. Let's just go to them here. So Achates, right? Her survival is not that high actually, but I have some decent speed on her because I have speed boots. She does have some effect resistance, so less chance of her getting defense broken and well, decreased hit chance. We kind of care about that. The decreased hit chance also will make her miss 50% of the time, meaning that she's not going to be able to attack break with her skill 1. This thing increases the healing of skill 2, which is kind of welcome because her skill 2 doesn't heal for that much. Shimaja's staff will be... It's boosting the amount of healing green numbers across the whole team. It's affecting Tamarine and herself, so that's great. And especially when you have heroes that scales, that heals based on their max health, Shimaja's staff is very powerful. Especially when you have more than one, source of healing, more than one Soul Weaver, or maybe you have heroes that can heal. It also affects what is called continuous healing buff. So the decreased attack chance, I mean, that's definitely great. You definitely want to skill her up to have that 50% chance. Her effectiveness is very low. Actually, I would bring that to 65%. Of course, that's definitely a big mistake here. But we have at least attack break on Fire Can as well. So the invincibility is great, but not only that, you got the skill cooldown reduction by 1 turn on whoever will receive this healing and invincibility, which is great. And this is the biggest thing here, cleanses all debuffs and then heal. The cleansing happens before the healing, which is huge. Only 3-turn cooldown, which is major, and soul burn for 10 souls in maybe your rating or whatever. Maybe you're manualing this battle, I don't know. But this is very, very strong. An amazing healer. I still need to skill her up. I would say skill 3 and 1 are priority. You don't have to go too crazy after getting the -1 turn, but getting more healing on team-wide healing is a huge deal. Next one is Tamarine. So in terms of skill up, of course, you want to skill her skill 3, and then this, well, you don't have to get all of them, but it's very nice when you do. You don't need the skill ups here. That's her stats. She's fast. Her survival is kind of on the lower side because her base health and defense, they are low. They are low, so of course she's not gonna have a bunch of survival. Her effectiveness could go up to 65 once again. And yeah, the dispelling, right? The dispelling is very powerful. This triggers dual attack when she goes in idol's form, when she uses Shining Star. Very powerful. This gives the attack buff and also recovers health and give combat sureness up to 50% if you have all the skill ups. Very, very strong, and the healing is based on her max health for this, and this actually removes all debuffs off of the team. Very, very strong, especially when you get this thing to like at the start of the battle. If it triggers at the start of the battle, you're set for a great start, and it also brings her back to full health. So yeah, you can definitely have her in the front line. The thing is, the frontline hero has 40% chance to get attacked by the artificial intelligence. And yeah, for the first wave, if you put her in the front line, more chance of her being attacked. Prophetic Candlestick will allow you to just reduce her cooldowns, which is definitely very welcome. That's her stats real quick before I jump to different team compositions. Well, heroes that you could use in your team composition. So let's look at them together. Okay, so in the journal, right, we're gonna go through the fire heroes real quick. Yeah, the great ones, right, the really powerful ones. There's quite a few ones, but Fire Ken, of course. Now, Bell and Season. Bell and Season, you got decreased speed, decreased defense, and unhealable, all from that skill 3. And this has a 95% chance, yeah, of being applied. Of course, there's the resist check as well. If you defeat something with this skill, it reset the skill 3 cooldown. And you got poison on a skill number 1. So he's a viable contender, but he's gonna be squishy. He's gonna be squishy. Soul Bad Guy from the Guilty Gear collaboration. Very powerful hero with enable to be buff, debuff, and that is being applied after, yeah, before making them unhealable. So it dispels and then apply enable to be buff, debuff. That is great to take care of that attack buff on the golem. And this is, he's counter-attacking with this thing when the enemy use a non-attack skill. The skill 1, yeah, you get Fighting Spirit, allowing him to just, you know, use his skill 3 more often. He deals a ton of damage, and his damage on his passive that triggers plus his skill 3 scale based on the target's max health. So he could be a free-to-play option for you guys, because if you were part of the Guilty Gear collaboration, or when it comes back, then there you go. I mean, other potential contenders. I mean, Haste is kind of squishy. He's squishy. You don't need to worry about like landing a bunch of debuffs on the boss, but he does have unhealable, a bunch of bleeds and vampiric touch that can heal. You know, recovers 10% of the attacker's health when attacking the target. And when you attack that target, well, you have leech, right? So that's pretty cool. And yeah, this deals more damage the fewer the enemies. Like Lilius, she can be used, but like you've got cleansing with her, you've got dual attack triggers. That's not bad, right? But then the provoke won't happen. The barrier is only for herself. So to me, yeah, I mean, you could turn off her skills and just have her use skill 1 non-stop for a speed run or something. But I mean, you kind of need the cleansing, so you kind of need to keep that running. I feel like, yeah, you can bring her. You can bring her, especially when if you're close to 3 manning, let's say Golem 13, then that could definitely be very powerful. You know, having dual attacks happening, especially when your dual attack is very strong, like Cermia's skill 1, right? She's got unhealable, she's got crazy damage, and she can trigger another attack, like because of her exclusive equipment. So that's very, very strong. Kayron, I mean, the silence will not be helpful from his exclusive equipment, but he has increased attack from this thing. He can't die because of this, right? Unless it's on cooldown. And he's got decreased hit chance. But the thing is, decreased hit chance will not help you, because bosses cannot miss even if they have decreased hit chance. So yeah, you need to get like, let's just jump. Okay, 4-star heroes like Kawazu, right? He's definitely a very powerful hero for Golem, because he brings unhealable and defense break on a 4-turn cooldown down to 3 turn after skill ups. Sometimes it's hard justifying like doing skill ups on a 4-star hero, but if you want to farm Golem, even though you should be farming Wyvern like way more, Wyvern should be your go-to place, right? Because the sets there have more value. You know, Wyvern, Banshee, and Azmanak, their sets there, they have a higher value compared to the sets that drop from Golem, because you end up with more stats out of their sets. But let's say you do need the health, defense, because you need to really like go crazy on health, like a Dark Corvus. You need to go crazy on defense for a hero that scales on based on defense. You need the attack because you cannot quite yet farm destruction. Maybe for a martial artist you want to like you know, you don't need the speed because you're relying on counter mechanism and stuff like that. All debuff are dispelled and burning vitality is activated. Yeah, this is pretty cool. Can only be activated once every 3 turn, down to 2 turn. Increases attack of the caster for 2 turns. So defense break plus attack buff on himself plus dispelling plus some burn, additional damage that is based on the caster's attack. So that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool hero. He's fire too, so he's not going to be taking that much damage as well. So keep him in mind, guys. Cirilla, if you got her, right? Cirilla is an insane hero. Her kit is stacked. Her kit is completely stacked because she's got decreased defense now on her skill 1. Her exclusive equipment, I can't quite remember what it does. It might increase the chance to attack break, maybe, or I think she has an increased chance to defense break. I could be wrong. Let us know in the comment section if you know the exact answer, but let's just look at her kit real quick. Her skill 2, that's it. She's got the attack break, she's got the defense break, so the 2 most powerful debuffs. Some burn here. The multiplier on the skill 3 is completely insane, and you've got attack buff on herself as well. So definitely very, very powerful. If you kill an enemy with this, her cooldown will not happen on this skill, so she can use it again. Very strong. Oh, I remember, she has dispelling. She can dispel with one of her exclusive equipment. So she's pretty much perfect for Golem. Pretty much perfect. And if you got a few of her copies, you might have her at SS. There you go, effectiveness right there for herself or the team. I think more value out of activating it for the team, but it won't affect her, guys. You would have to use her self-memory imprint, so maybe you use that, the self-memory imprint for herself. Very, very strong hero in there. Who else do we have? If I look at, before I get to 3-star heroes, Dingo, I mean, bleed, yes, and then after attack, there's a 30% chance to activate Quick Grill, which is this bleed and burn. This is an AoE, and yeah, there's healing as well, recovering the caster's health. This thing here, increasing critical hit chance, is huge because you can base your team around that. But the problem is there's a cooldown on this skill, and yeah, that's the thing. You've got a pretty long cooldown on this thing. So you can't completely base your team stats around it. You can't build for like, let's say 35% crit chance. You get that, that's 85% crit chance on fire heroes, and you're kind of like set, you're going to have 100% versus earth. You do have dispel all debuffs, very powerful. The critical hit chance buff is very powerful as well. Before decreasing cooldown by 1 turn. So everyone on the team will have their cooldown reduced by 1 turn. I thought it wasn't affecting himself, but yeah, it does reduce his cooldown. So with the skill up, you're at 5, you use this thing, you're at 4, right? And then grants the caster an extra turn. Wait a second. Yeah, it doesn't say that he every time an enemy dies, the cooldown of this skill decreases by 1 turn. Okay, so this thing, it's 5-turn cooldown. You decrease cooldown by 1 turn on himself and the rest of the group. So you're down to 4-turn cooldown, and then you get an extra turn, so 3-turn cooldown. Okay, this is actually reliable. This is actually reliable. So keep that in mind, guys. This doesn't deal damage, so it won't count as 1 charge on the counter attack for the Golem as well. Definitely a viable hero for that boss. I mean, the cooldown is actually low, and you can also rely on the critical hit chance buff because the cooldown is so low. Especially the higher you bring his speed, the higher the uptime on this buff for the rest of your team. So he's a 4-star hero. He could be considered a free-to-play hero, but still I will not consider him a free-to-play hero, even though he's only a 4-star. But I would say that Cirilla is a free-to-play hero, Soul Bad Guy is a free-to-play hero. So you could do like Soul Bad Guy Cirilla, Achates, Mascot Hazel, something like that. But yeah, let's look at the 3-star heroes. First things first, Mascot Hazel is going to be great because she has healing, she has greater attack buff or normal attack buff if they are not fire heroes, but you should definitely bring fire heroes in there. This heals more if the ally's health is less than 50%. And yeah, just not an amazing healer, but a pretty decent healer. You've got Unhealable, with which goes up to like 85% chance after her specialty change when you power up the runes, right? So yeah, her kit is pretty strong. The problem is dispelling. So you won't have, I mean, Achates for a free-to-play player. Yeah, I guess 4-star heroes could be free-to-play friendly, right? But still, you have some pretty great heroes that you can get for free. If we add 3-star heroes, Carmen Rose is a beast in here. A beast because she's got self-attack and defense buff for 2 turns. She dispels all buffs. This is very strong. She will remove the attack buff from the golem, buff herself. Her survival is not that great. She's a 3-star hero as well. But still, her defense is quite high, like mages, but her health is on the lower side. So you need to make good use of that defense buff. Now, she does have some sustain on her skill 1 when she attacks, right? So at least there's that. Attacks the enemy, decreasing combat readiness by 35%. And this actually goes up to 55%. Decreasing speed of the enemy and increasing speed of the caster for 2 turns. So she's got attack buff, defense buff, and speed buff going for herself, which is crazy. And this is only a 3-turn cooldown after skill up, same as this one, 3 turns. And she's a 3-star hero. You can just use rare catalysts as well as stigmas and gold, and you can just skill her up to plus 15. Very, very strong hero. I'll try to get a Golem 13 video with her because she's such an amazing hero. I have her built on my account number 3 on the Europe server, so I'll try to make that happen. Another hero that is very powerful is going to be Researcher Carrot. I mean, she's a hero that is burn based, right? And she has some pretty decent survival. You need to increase her attack so the burn deal more damage, and the barrier strength increases proportional to the caster's attack. And you've got decreased speed here, not the highest of chance, yeah, you detonate burn effect. So she's gonna be doing a lot of damage, right? And burn, you know, it does penetrate 70% of the target's defense as well. So you could rely on burning to take the boss down. The problem is, at least she has the detonate. So that tree that cleanses the debuffs off of the golem, well, she has a chance to detonate. It's not 100% chance unless you soul burn, which won't happen on auto. But still, this goes up with, does it? It probably goes up with her specialty change. Now, who else do we have here? We have Chaos Inquisitor. Chaos Inquisitor is pretty crazy. Not only he cannot be one-shotted because he can only take 35% of his max health and damage in a single attack. So there's that to begin with. And then he's fire and he's a knight. So there's also that. I guess he could have Elbrus Ritual Sword, but most damage dealers should be built with Daydream Joker, considering the amount of damage it actually adds. This thing dispels, yeah, it's 2 attacks, and you have, how much chance is it? It's 50% chance to dispel each attack buff off of the target. So dispels 2 buff each, so the attack buff can be removed with this. And you got the survival with skill 2, so you can build him more squishy. and attacks the enemy with the name of Chaos, recovering health proportional to the damage dealt. When the enemy is buffed, has a 50%... Wait. When the enemy is buffed, has a 50% chance to activate Heavy Strike. Damage dealt increases proportional to the caster's lost health. So Heavy Strike, right? But if the Golem has the attack buff, he will chain skill 3 with skill 1, which is going to be insane amount of burst damage, especially the lower his health is at. This can deal some insane damage. I'm talking like I've seen over 100,000 damage out of this skill. The thing is, this skill you need, like, that was relying on you know, what is it, immortality buff, so he could stay at 1 health. It was actually bringing him back with ML Achates, so he's back with 1 health, and then he was able to deal maximum damage because the multiplier goes up because he has like no health, right? So that was kind of a gimmick, but still, he can definitely do a ton of damage. 3-turn cooldown on this. He has recovery, dispel, great survival, so he can definitely be a great contender. Ras is gonna get a specialty change. The biggest take out of him is, well, he triggers dual attack, yeah, with the ally with the highest attack, so he can be relied upon for you know, doing a speed run, or yeah, making the run faster, especially when you have a strong skill 1 on your highest attacker. You got increased defense for himself, and this thing, where is it? I thought he had the spell. Maybe not. Strongly attacks all enemies with a Sword Storm, recovering health proportional to the caster's max health, and increased defense of the caster for 2 turns. Okay, so I guess it's the recovery. I got mixed up with that. He's got some recovery on that thing. He's a knight. He could wear Aureus to increase your team's survival. So, but keep in mind, the Golem will deal more and more damage as his attack goes up. So, yeah, that's definitely, like, you don't want to drag the battle for too long. You could use Nemuna's, I mean, her skill 2 deals damage proportional to the enemy's max health. So this, with high crit damage and defense break on the target, will definitely deal a ton of damage. But yeah, she's gonna be fairly squishy, right? Okay, not that bad, but still quite squishy. She's a 3-star hero. She's got yeah, encourage all allies, dispelling 1 debuff, increase attack of the caster for 2 turns. It's gonna be rough though, like Golem 13 with her, yeah, she's got dispel of 1 debuff, but then there's decreased hit chance, not only decrease decreased defense and decreased hit chance debuff on your team, so only 1 is not gonna be that powerful. So I think I would, yeah, I wouldn't recommend her. But I would say Carmen Rose is definitely like top contender there. Mascot Hazel as well. And Mascot Hazel, I mean, with the greater attack buff, pushing the damage even further for Carmen Rose. So that's already 2 heroes. Yeah, I would run with double soul weavers to play it safe, unless you can go crazy with the damage, right? So I would say that, like, it would have to be like Mascot Hazel, Achates, and then like Carmen Rose, and then a 4th. You already have the dispelling, you have you know, decreased speed, decreased combat readiness, you got unhealable, you got attack break. Now what you need would be like a defense break and then Daydream Joker on Carmen Rose, and you would be set. So you could use Kawazu with you'd have even more chance to have unhealable being applied. He's got the attack buff for himself on top of having Carmen Rose with her attack buff. Plus, these attack buff can be extended. Like, let's say you got greater attack buff from Mascot Hazel, and then you apply attack buff on yourself. Let's say Carmen Rose herself or Kawazu herself attack buff. They will the greater attack buff. Let's say there was only 1 turn left. It will be extended to 2 turns, and then it will stay a greater attack buff. So that's a pretty cool thing. And of course, if you do have Soul Bad Guy, Karik does insane damage as well. I mean, yeah, he can dispel, right? And then he's got self-increase speed, and then he penetrates defense when he has increased speed here. And he's got the silence, though, is not that powerful, but he scales based on the caster's speed. he might be a bit too squishy, but well built, he can do some pretty insane damage, but not as high as Cermia. Cermia is definitely like the queen in there. Melissa will definitely deal a huge amount of damage. She does have unhealable, and the immortality will help her stay alive. And the curse, well, the thing is, the biggest thing is she does a ton of damage, and she also has the spell as well. But you cannot curse elite or boss monsters, but still she will deal a ton of damage, and she brings that unhealable dispel. Definitely viable. Lydica, if you want to control combat readiness, is definitely going to be a powerful hero. Decreasing combat readiness by 100%. I mean, you could definitely overlap the boss like crazy, and the boss will only use counter attack, you know, so he will not be popping that shockwave attack at all, or maybe not often, right? So you have unhealable, you have dispel 1 buff, you have decreased speed, you have skill nullifier as well for her survival, and she can, like, when built fast, she can go so often. So definitely a great hero for this place. Of course, Tambourine. Lilias could be used. Tenebria, right? I mean, she's got decreased defense, self-increase attack, decreased speed, and yeah, the sleep will not trigger though. The sleep will not trigger. Beside that, you could use Cecilia actually, because now she has grants immunity to all allies for 2 turns, and the barrier, you know, that is pretty strong. But the barrier is only for herself, and the provoke cannot happen on the boss. But she does have decrease attack and decrease defense, so I would say she's quite powerful for that place. And you could either have Elbrus Ritual Sword, so she can potentially have defense breaks happen more often to have a higher uptime on that, or she could be wearing like Aureus to increase your team survival. I think with her you wouldn't need double soul weavers, because the immunity, the thing is, this is, what's the turn cooldown on that? It's 4 turns, and this immunity lasts 2 turns. She has high base speed and high survival stats, but you will have to make her quite fast, so the immunity stays on the rest of the team, or at least your squishy heroes. Your damage dealer should be slow. But if there's like extra turn mechanics on your damage dealers, like Cermia, like they will lose the immunity quite fast, and then like the attack break is I mean, I guess it's fairly reliable. It's 2 turn, and it's 100% chance after skill up. The problem is the 3 will be dispelling. So yeah, that's why skill 1s are way more reliable. But yeah, she could be used. She could be used. Your team might be on the slower side because you will be relying on yeah, that's a knight that will be taking the spot of a damage dealer. I feel like it's kind of safer to go double soul weavers and just go with the clans, but the immunity at least will make sure that the defense break and decrease hit chance doesn't happen. So that's actually pretty powerful. Ravi is very strong, but the problem is, like, she's very tough. Like, you can't take her down. She's fire. She deals a ton of damage, right? But she doesn't provide debuff, like crucial debuffs, and her damage is outclassed by other heroes as well. Araminta, she does have burns, and she can overlap the enemy. She does have increased attack for the team, and she's got that unhealable, which is very welcome. It's not on a skill 1 though. Decrease cooldown of Fire Pillar by 1 turn with skill 1, but yeah, I mean, not a bad hero if you need the attack buff. I mean, I feel safer with Mascot Hazel, unless you're going to be doing a speed run, then Araminta could work out there. Yeah, I pretty much went over everyone. Charlotte, she got a rework. She does have unhealable, so that's great. And you don't have to build her with crit chance. What else do we have? Increase attack and defense for 1 turn, yes. And she does have decreased attack. I thought she had decreased defense. Maybe that was with her old kit, depending on her the target's health. But I guess she doesn't have it anymore. Yeah. Anyways, she does have the unhealable, decreased attack. That's not bad. That is not bad actually. But I prefer to have single target damage dealers over ones that have an AoE attack on skill 3, because the multiplier will be lower on that skill number 3, and that is yeah, if you're trying to squeeze as much damage as possible, then that's gonna be unfortunate when you're missing a bit of damage to make it happen. Let's say I might have missed someone else in there, but yeah, I had to go over like fire heroes because I feel like it's way easier to gear them out for this boss, because the amount of damage is pretty crazy.